What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for August 8th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast, a rainy Thursday, the remnants of Hurricane, Tropical Storm Debbie, whatever you want to call her, are here, and it's just going to be pretty much a washout, but that's okay. Thank you for joining. We got a lot to get to today, but first, some housekeeping notes. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching this. And even if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That helps out the podcast. I've been saying I'm still trying to work on something to live, and the best way to stay in the loop of that is to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Spread the word too. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies, neighbors, family, whoever. Spread the word, especially if you enjoy listening every morning. I would greatly appreciate it. And coming soon, as the Eagles get ready for their first preseason game tomorrow, hopefully, I guess a lot is going to be dependent on the weather. I've heard on the radio this morning that there's going to be a lot of rain in the area, that they were discussing whether or not to play the starters. And the topic of possibly postponing did come up, I guess, depending on how severe the remnants of Debbie are. But Eagles season is right around the corner, and typically I would do an Eagles preview, but I think I'm going to switch it up and do it a little differently this year. I did something similar last year, and then there was a lot of overlap in the special. So the Olympics end on Sunday, and that will end our Philly Olympic spotlight. So what I'm going to do is that leaves us 20 days for the rest of the month of October, and then that following week is when the NFL kicks off. So I'm going to do 20 questions in 20 days about the Eagles, previewing the season, culminating with my picks and predictions. So stay tuned for that starting on Monday. All right. Great win for the Phillies. They showed some fight. They were down 4-1, battled back. Kyle Schwarber had himself a night, 3 home runs, 7 RBI. It was the first time since 2008 when Jason Worth did it, and we talked about it not that long ago, that a Phillies player had 3 home runs and 7 RBI in a game. It was only the 24th. I was surprised to see that this has only happened 24 times in the Phillies' history, but the 24th time a player has hit 3 home runs in a game. Mike Schmidt has done it the most, 3 times, including that 4 home run game in 1976. And it's actually the second time it happened this year. Bryce did it back in early April as well. But like I said, a great win for the Phils. They showed some fight. They showed some spunk. Castellanos got hit. Strom came back and retaliated. Unfortunately, this is the last game the Phillies play against the Dodgers until the postseason. But kind of foul that one away, because I have a feeling that might come back, especially if these two teams play in the postseason. Tyler Phillips had a little bit of a rough start, but then he was able to settle down and really pitched 4 home runs from your 4th or your 5th starter. Not too bad in 5 innings, but the bullpen was great. They shut down the Dodgers then the rest of the way. That makes 2 in a row, and as we've been saying for a couple weeks now, we've been trying to get that quote from Major League 2. 2 in a row, that's a winning streak. Let's go for 3 and keep it rolling tonight in Arizona. And don't look now, but the Phillies, obviously 2 in a row. They won a series. They're 3-3 on this West Coast trip. And basically all of us said I felt 5-5 would have been a successful trip. Even when I posed it as the question of the day, 5-6 wins was pretty much what most of you thought as well. They need to split in Arizona, and they go 5-5 on this trip. And with the way they came in and the way they played early, I will gladly take a 5-5 road trip. 6-4, though, is definitely on the table, but Arizona's been playing well lately, so it should be a tough series. For you Night Owls, they are a half hour earlier. Still 9:40 is past my bedtime, but we'll see how it is. Kobe Allard goes on the mound tonight, looking to keep things rolling. Again, he didn't pitch bad in either of his previous 2 starts, but the offense really needs to kind of kick it in high gear and keep it going. But again, Kyle Schwarber with 3 Schwarbombs, and I'm pretty much, I'm shocked that that's only happened 24 times in the history of the Phillies with all of the great home run hitters they had. All the big names have had at least one. As I said, Mike Schmidt has done it 3 times. But that does lead me to the question of the day. 3-3 through the first 6 games of this road trip. We've talked about this, and everybody's been pretty much split on whether they can do it. But are you ready to say the Phillies are back? 267-495-8531. That'll get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Do you think the Phillies are back? Answer the question on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Any of my social media, Jimbo_Mont on Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, however you're going to do. Get that vote in. We continue to just the participation for the question of the day and interaction with the podcast has been great recently. So let's keep that momentum going, especially going into football season. But are you ready to say that the Phillies are back? 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. That's how you get in. Get anything else Philly sports related off your chest. There's a lot to get into, which we'll get into in a minute. But to recap yesterday's question of the day, I asked you, are we too emotional as Philadelphia sports fans? 56% of you said yes, we are, and I would agree with that. And I guarantee at least half of the other 44% that said no did so out of emotion. It was an emotional reaction. I'd be willing to bet that. But it's okay. We are too emotional. I think that's what makes us unique. But sometimes we just need to step back and, like I like to say at work a lot of times, take a 30,000-foot view of what's happening. But 56% of you agree with me that we are too emotional when it comes to our sports teams, which, again, leads us to today's question of the day, strictly based on emotion out of yesterday's game. Are you ready to say the Phillies are back? I think I am. And this is a perfect time. Braves lost, so the lead is still 7.5 games. I can't believe for as bad as they've played, they still have a 7.5 game lead. However, that's just the way it goes. Be sure to check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences. New baseball podcast drops tomorrow. They are in the lab gearing up for football season coming soon. And then go to phillygoat.com. And right now, like I said, it's back to school. And no matter how much we want to hide from it, and we have the August scaries or whatever you want to call it, it's back to school time. Go to Philly Goat. Do some back to school shopping for your kids. My kids have a few shirts from there. Get some stickers for their water bottles. I know that's big. Apparently, been in the office the past couple of days. Apparently, it's big with adults too. And I say that, and if you're watching on YouTube, I have a ton of stickers on mine too, so I should have known. But go to Philly Goat, and anything out of their baseball collection, 10% of that sale goes toward the Darren Dalton Foundation. Great organization fighting for brain cancer research in honor of Darren Dalton, who passed away 7 years ago this week. So go to Philly Goat. Be sure to use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. It makes a huge difference, especially if you're buying multiple items, and it lets Ryan and the team over at Philly Goat know that you're listening. That's phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. All right, so I got some clarification on the Little League World Series, and the team from Council Rock, Newtown, they will play a winner-take-all game tomorrow at 3 against whoever wins the Washington, D.C., Maryland game today. They beat both of those teams by the 10-run rule in the Mid-Atlantic Tournament. So things are looking good for the team from Council Rock, Newtown to get to the Little League World Series, which is always a fun time for me. Going back to when I played Little League, I told you about the video game the other day we used to play, and just fun. It's fun to watch. If you remember a few years ago when the team from Taney went with Monet Davis. It was a lot of fun. And every now and then, a couple of years ago, there was a team from South Jersey that went pretty far and made some noise. So it's always fun to see the local kids doing good things. But we will be tuning in after camp tomorrow. I promise the kids will get some ice cream after I pick them up, but we should be able to catch at least the second half of that game. But the Council Rock Newtown Little League will play the winner of the DC Maryland game tomorrow with a trip to Williamsport on the line. All right, so let's get to the big story. I'm sure you heard about the article that Tim McManus and Jeremy Fowler released yesterday. I do have to question the timing. And I like Tim McManus, but the timing of this wasn't really good. However, the article, there wasn't anything earth-shattering. Everybody was like, oh, it's a bombshell. It's a bombshell. I personally, and I'll give you my takeaways from it, and then hopefully we can put this whole situation to bed and move on to this year. I didn't see anything in there, that, like I said, that was a bombshell or earth-shattering. But I think, obviously, it gave us some insight into what did go down. And for the most part, they were tight. They were pissed off and disappointed that they lost the Super Bowl. And I think the Super Bowl hangover is a real thing. And you could tell, especially being so close to winning it. But I think they were pressing a little bit. They were disappointed. And then you have the Jalen contract in there where they said he was trying to play hero ball to live up to the contract. And I get that as well. But ultimately, I think it shed some light on Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts both as who they are as a person. And I really don't think they're that different. And I know people have been saying that, but they ultimately wanted the same thing. They just were not on the same page. And I do think with Nick Sirianni, to me, it showed that he was a good coach, because even the anonymous team sources, and if you look at some of the interviews that they've had with players during the mini camps and the OTAs and now training camp, they all love him. They really do. So I think this is a specific Jalen versus Nick issue. Now, the two most important people on the team. So the fact that there was some animosity and some drama between the two of them, that's an issue. But I do think Nick Sirianni is a good coach. I think much like Charlie Manuel, when he came into Philly, everybody kind of judged him on his opening press conference and some of his interactions with the media early on. If you remember, people hated Charlie Manuel. Basically, they said he was a bumbling idiot and a country bumpkin and all other derogatory names you could think of for somebody from the South. But over time, he proved his worth, and one of my he's the perfect manager to me for that team to win the World Series. And I think Sirianni, if the Eagles can win a Super Bowl, that's the perfect guy you want to lead them. The players love him, and I think he's not dumb. And he, I think, learned from the mistakes of last year. Everything that we've seen, even in the article with the players, it's all about accountability, and he 100% took the blame. And he is a player's coach. He stuck up for, no matter, even if he did have issues with Jalen last year, that specifically whatever happened in Seattle when Jalen ended up calling the play, Sirianni stuck up for Jalen Hurts, even though 100% it's come out now, and AJ's confirmed that too, that was them that changed that play instead of going for the first down, kicking the field goal, winning the game. And Sirianni looked like an idiot because he was like, oh, we were looking for a pass interference call. He wasn't looking for a pass interference call. That was not the play he wanted. However, he had Jalen's back throughout it all. And I think that is important to kind of remember in this whole situation, where despite whatever they had going on, he had his back. And I think you've seen it now out of training camp. They have a professional relationship, and I don't need them going out to dinner. And if they're not going out to dinner, I don't care. And I have some people in the organization I work for that I have major disagreements with their philosophies and what they want to do. However, I'm able to, I know I need this job. We're all working toward the same goal. You might not have the same value and belief system I do, but doesn't mean it's going to impact my job. So I don't need them going out for drinks and going out to dinner. I just need them to be on the same page. And all indications are right now that they are on the same page and ready to go for this season. One of my other big takeaways was that Brian Johnson was put in a no-win situation because everybody seems to think. Sorry, I don't know why my Siri just went off, but everybody seems to think he's going to be a good offensive coordinator at some point in this league. Maybe it wasn't Nick's first choice, but due to the fact they were in the Super Bowl and the stupid NFL rules, and you know how I feel about that, they kind of had to maybe elevate him sooner. Obviously, Brian Johnson had that relationship with Jalen Hurts. Brian Johnson had his own set of what he wanted to do, went against what Nick wanted. So there was definitely some friction there. Not to say that either one's ideas were bad, but when you don't have your coach and your offensive coordinator on the same page, that's an issue. And we saw that the offense, for the most part, all through, like, no matter how much they were winning by and the fact they were 10-1, all of that, you could tell that they were just not in sync. I do feel that this is going to bring the team together. I think we're already kind of seeing that so far in training camp. I think they've learned from their mistakes. They realize now, going back to the Super Bowl, they know what it takes. They know what went wrong last year, and the fact that nobody wants to talk about it, I agree. Let's move on. It's a new season. You learn from your mistakes. We talk about it all the time on Tuesdays about learning mistakes and everything is an opportunity, failure to grow from it. And I think for the most part, there's a lot of talented, good players on this team, a lot of smart players. So I think they're going to be able to pull through it, and I think it will bring them together. And then as far as Jalen, I like the fact, and it was kind of like a throw-in to the story, he called Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator who left the Giants before the Tampa Bay playoff game. I like this. I don't understand why more players don't do this. He was like, wanted to know what he saw, why he schemed them the way they did, and what he could take away from it. I like that because it does show something about Jalen's character, that he wants to win, and it also does show that there was the fracture or whatever in the Eagles locker room. But I don't necessarily see it. Some people are saying, oh, this is terrible, it's a bad look. I don't think it's a bad look. You go where get all the information you want. I mean, you go wherever you go. I do it all the time in my job. I go to people in other schools and say, hey, how do you guys do this? And I think that's what Jalen did, and I like it. And in his press conference yesterday, I really liked his reaction. He was feisty at first, and then you could see something sort of clicked in him, and he's like, you know what? This isn't going to get me anywhere. Didn't necessarily give an answer at all. He talked around it, but basically was just allowed it to just go. Like, he was like, okay, addressed it, talked about it, and then moved on. So hopefully we can put this to bed. And the other thing that everybody's talking about is the adversity. So what happens if they lose a game or two? What's going to happen? And I don't think there's any chance that Sirianni or Jalen Hurts is going to allow it to get anywhere near where it was last year. They're too smart. There's too much at stake for both of them. And again, nothing in either one of their careers so far has led me to believe that they will not learn from this and not grow from it. So again, it's one of those things. Yes, it happened. It's good to have sort of a clearer picture, but let's move on. That was last year. This is a different team. You grow from it. They've kind of adjusted and addressed some of the issues that were there. Let's move on. And again, I don't need them to be BFFs. I don't need them going out to dinner or going over to each other's houses for barbecues and things like that. I need them to be on the same page when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think my big takeaway from that article and what I've been seeing and hearing, they've moved on. So I think we all should too. Obviously, it's going to be a big story for the next day or two. But I think hopefully this slams the book shut on that. We can finally move on to the 2024 season, and I feel it's going to be a good one. But like I said, starting Monday, 20 questions about the 2024 Eagles in 20 days, and that will serve as our Eagles preview. But like I said, I came out of reading that article pretty much positive. Talking in my text chain, there was the little quote at the end that sort of that last little dig, and that's why I'm like, come on, Tim, you're better than that. But I don't think that they're going to allow this to fester on. They've moved on. I suggest we all moved on because we have a damn good football team, and let's enjoy that. But let me know your thoughts on that. It's not the question of the day, but if you want to get your thoughts, if maybe I'm wearing the Kelly green glasses like I usually do, but for me, I feel more positive than negative about this article. But let me know what your thoughts are. 267-495-8531. That'll get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. Okay, today we're going to hop in the Wayback Machine and go back to 1903. And this day in 1903 in Philadelphia became known as Black Saturday. And it was the worst disaster in the history, probably, of American sports. The Phillies were playing the Boston Bean Eaters, which became the Braves, who are now in Atlanta. But they were scheduled to play a doubleheader. The Braves won the first game in 12 innings, 5-4. The second game was shaping up to be pretty much just a slugfest. It was 5-5 heading into the top of the fourth. There were 10,000 people in the stands, only about half full at the Baker Bowl. Most of the fans, though, were out in the left field bleachers because it was only a quarter to sit in the left field bleachers, and you're paying at least $30. That just goes to show you how much 120 years ago, 121 years ago, it cost you about $25 minimum to sit in the left field bleachers all the way at the top today. But I digress. But during that game in the top of the fourth inning, there was commotion out on 15th Street, which the left field bleachers sort of overlooked. Two drunk guys, it was a Saturday evening in Philly, shocker, were just getting into it with a group of teens. The teens were taunting them, and again, Philly's gonna Philly. But one of the drunks in the commotion fell on a girl. She screamed and freaked out, and as you can imagine, chaos ensued. And the commotion was so loud that they could hear it in the stands, and somebody looked out over the bleachers and started yelling, "Fight!" And again, Philly's gonna Philly. Never a chance to miss out on a good fight. Everybody rushed to the top of the left field bleachers to look out over 15th Street to see what was going on. Because why not? It's a fight. The team was terrible in 1903, so hey, what's going on 15th Street? Let's check it out. Well, because so many people were there, the balcony collapsed, and unfortunately it killed 12 people and injured over 200 more. I saw some various, like whether it was 230, 240. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Almost 250 people were hurt. 12 people were killed in the incident that became known as Black Saturday, when a fight broke out on 15th Street, causing everybody in the Baker Bowl to rush to the left field bleachers, and they collapsed. Obviously, they stopped the game, and then the rest of the Phillies' remaining home games were split between Columbia Park, which is where the Athletics played, or they ended up playing home games on the road. But like I said, it didn't matter. That team was terrible that year. They finished 49-86. But on this day, 1903, Black Saturday occurred, one of the worst, if not the worst, tragedy, catastrophes, whatever you want to call it, in American spectator sports happened when the balcony collapsed and 12 people killed, over 200 people were injured because of a fight, because of two drunk guys on 15th Street. And again, these were our great-grandfathers and great-great-grandfathers, and go to the link today. You go to Citizens Bank Park today. Fight breaks out. Everybody's looking to see what's going on. So I guess the more things change, the more they change the same. But I don't want to make light of what happened on Black Saturday in 1903. It was a very tragic and ultimately probably one of the worst accidents in American sports history. But that happened on this day in 1903. Finally today, our Philly Olympic spotlight. Nia Akins, track and field, and a University of Penn graduate from the School of Nursing. I'll give that a shout out since my wife works at University of Penn as a nurse. Go Quakers. But she made it to the semifinals in this Olympics for the 800 meters. Unfortunately, she was not able to go. She finished third in her heat, but she did show out, made us proud, from the University of Penn. Ironically enough, though, she also doubles as a singer-songwriter, an aspiring singer-songwriter. She has some stuff out on social media. She has a great voice. I looked up some of the stuff, so if you want to look her up and support her that way as well. But Nia Akins, University of Penn graduate, the 800 meters in track and field, made it to the semifinals before bowing out, but you certainly made Penn, specifically the Penn School of Nursing, proud. So shout out to you, Nia Akins, and good luck with your music career as you progress. On this day in 1903, Black Saturday occurred. That's when the left field bleachers at the Baker Bowl collapsed, killing 12, injuring over 200 because of a commotion that happened on 15th Street. Let me know what you think about the Jalen Nick Sirianni thing. Am I being too rosy and positive about it, or is it time to just move on and focus on this team? I say we just focus on this team. It's going to be one hell of a team. Let's get ready. Be careful out there in case if you're in an area that has either been flooded or will flood. Please be safe. Don't be dumb and try to drive through. Find an alternate way. Phillies look to win 3 in a row tonight in Arizona. Are you ready to say they're back? That's the question of the day. 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. Get that and anything else Philly sports related off of your chest. We will be rooting for the Council Rock Newtown Little League team tomorrow. We'll find out who they play tonight, but let's go. Make the area proud and make that trip to Williamsport. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for August 8th, 2024. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Thursday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.